Well, hello everyone. Welcome to today's free call. This is the last call to what we know in Canada as being end of summer holidays. Oh. It's that time of year where everyone's ready to get back to regular scheduling. Parents with kids at home, yes. Right? You have kids going off to university, college, or elementary school, taking in the next grade, and it's super exciting. We live our life process through, September coming and starting a new season of our life. If for the salespeople, it's getting ready to haul butt before the end of the year. I'm talking to all the salespeople out there. So I want to be one of the first ones to wish everyone a very happy fall. And I really do hope that, the fall of 2023 is going to be a real explosive personal growth and sales activation for each and every one of you out there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Grace Simon, and I have to say that I am absolutely delighted to be on the call with you guys today. I have a brand new lesson for today from undoubtedly one of the most powerful personal and business development books there is, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, I have been looking forward to this call since the spring when I was planning what special programs I was going to be running this year. I primarily focus my attention to helping salespeople to sell, thrive, and to live their fulfilled life. And, we're pretty much 1 year post COVID, and it's been really interesting, right? It's been really interesting to watch and experience society coming from what's been, let's just say, very challenging time of life. And now this past year, the threats and pressures of economic uncertainty has been incredibly intense. Never mind all the fires globally and everything that's going on. It's so intense, hasn't it? And it just doesn't end. And guess what? It's not going to end. But here's what I have to say to all of you, and please don't get offended by this, but I'm going to say that I'm inspired. I'm inspired when things get uncertain and when media, governments, economists dictate how everyone should be watching out for all the doom and gloom. I choose to get excited. And it's not because, please trust me and hear me out, I don't like suffering and gloom. Trust me, it's the opposite of who I am. But how I see it is that when doom and gloom is being advertised, and it's everywhere all around, history repeats itself always. And history leaves us clues, doesn't it? And the clues here that I want to talk about is that great things come out from challenges. It's true, right? People are stronger. New inventions, new business ideas, new methods, new. It comes out from trial and challenge. So when I was choosing a fall program, I knew that regardless, whatever's happening, salespeople are always coming into the fall hustle. They're coming into this fall hustle, right, to finish their year strong. History repeats itself. It's always the same. People have taken time off in the summer, spend time with family and friends, enjoying the great weather. Being an entrepreneur, you're free to create. You're able to do that. But when the fall time comes, you want to make your marks. You want to hit those goals. So it's the same thing every year that salespeople are like, oh, I only have 3 months left. Well, guess what, friends? This book is full of testimonies of proven results of people in challenging, pressing circumstances on the outside of their life. Yet they were able to learn how to create powerful and incredible wealth success stories for themselves, for their nations, their communities, their families, and beyond that. This book, and this is why I love to teach it, it's not fiction, it's facts. And so I am really excited about the introduction to this factual study known that if applied, if a big if applied, anyone, meaning any of us, anyone here, can think and grow through any time of circumstances. I want this to encourage you that anyone, if you apply these principles, and the people in this book is from decades and decades ago through hard stuff coming out of wars, that anyone can think and grow through any time of circumstances. So let's jump in so that I can explain just a little bit more, okay? So here we go. You know, many of you have heard of the book Think and Grow Rich, and maybe even more of you have been through a study of Think and Grow Rich. Maybe, once or several times. I don't know. But some of you, have already signed up for Think and Grow Rich, the 5-week mastermind that I've been advertising that starts on September 5th. And for those of you who have joined up already, or by the end of the week, or within the next couple of days, if you're the first 8 people, you'll have a hardcover study book mailed to them for you to be able to study from. I love my study book. This is my study book. Let me I don't know what the back screen, if I can do this. I don't know how to do it. There it is. There is my study book that I got from my coach and mentor, and I want to be able to give it to some of you. So if you go ahead and register for the 5-week mastermind, I'm going to send you a hard copy. For everyone that does sign up for this, you'll get a downloadable line for line text copy that you can follow along, and you can print off, and you can write off as much as you want. So you'll get that. But I want you to be able to get this copy here. I have it, and because I study this book, my mentor has his book is clipped by a paper clip held together. And so I am challenged to do that the same. So my book is full of circles and colors and stars. And, when you study something, you're into something, right? You're into it. I have stars and lines and circles because I believe in the principles that are being taught here. The fact that this book is from, was 500 men were studied in this book, from all different walks of life and backgrounds and levels of education and circumstances that were really rough, really desperate, and great despair created something different for their life. And so I'm into it. I want to know the principles for my life. I want to know them. I want to teach them. I want to grow them. And so that's what this is. That is what this is about. I love to study this book. And I love that it's getting beaten up the more and more that I do it. And I want to do that for us. So this study has made an enormous difference to my life. And it's like, it's not just a little difference, guys. It's an enormous difference to my life. It's like night and day, huge difference. My husband, Mike, and I have been designing our dream life, together since I first started this Think and Grow Rich study. And I was mentored by my mentor, my coach, Mr. Paul Martinelli, who's been studying Think and Grow Rich for almost 30 years. And when I first started with Paul doing the study, maybe about 5 years ago, I was in a very different place. And some of you may be even feeling that as well. I'm not sure about doing a study about Think and Grow Rich. And I was there. I listened to the program, I got the book, and I went through it. But I had a lot of the limited beliefs that I needed to push through in order to bring understanding. And maybe some of you as well have the same, right? things keep getting big. But since I've been digging in this and my husband and I have learned how to design our lives, that it's been really exciting that our dream life that we've been designing together has been unfolding. And actually, it just gets better and better. The things we think of, the possibilities that we have and designing, that these things are happening. And like, quite often I'll get a text from my husband Mike, and he'll text me or I'll text Mike, and we'll just say, "We're so blessed. This is amazing. We're so blessed." Because it's been amazing. We didn't live a life like that where we were designing and creating together and seeing things happen in that kind of order. But now it's happening all the time because something changed. And something changed from learning this study, learning, in an environment from a mentor and a coach. And, I have to be honest, looking at the activities that occurred in our house, things didn't happen exactly how we designed them to be. Like, there was things that happened, of course, that we didn't know were going to take place. But the amazing thing is that what we have set in our attention towards, our intention and our attention towards, and really committing to those things, that's what's we're focused on, and that's what's happening. About 12 years ago, we made this commitment to get serious about how we handled our finances. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a businesswoman, and I love to create. And I wanted to create opportunities for our family to grow in business and to help others grow. And so I knew that we needed to make a decision that would help us to open windows of opportunities. So I got at it with my husband. We sacrificed. We got help from others who I knew and I trusted were super wealthy. I knew their lives. I knew the fruit of their lives. I knew how they handled their lives with their money. And so they were willing to mentor us, and they did. And they did such a good job of mentoring us that we knocked out our outside debt within a year. And that for us was like an impossible thing. When you're used to living in debt and you're used to, my husband and I have always earned a good living. We work hard, and, we love to work, we love to produce. And so that wasn't the challenge for us. The challenge was that we love to live hard too, right? Keeping it and growing it the way that we needed to. So we changed that. We learned how to choose what it was that we wanted instead of getting what we didn't want. Yeah. And so we don't live in a place of regret of that, because there's no point in doing so. This book and this study with the mentors that I have had really helped clear the pathway for me. And now we're growing our businesses. We're purchasing investment properties. I'm traveling to my most favorite place this month, actually, to investigate our next step purchases, to create more opportunities. And, I also want to travel there more often. And so part of that is going and discovering how I can go there more often, back and forth, while making money. It's a part of my story, along with my husband and my family, and living in this place of creativeness, of design, of wealth, of fulfillment. And wealth is not just about money. No, it's about opportunities with family, opportunities for the community, opportunities for others. And we're an entrepreneurial home. We have car sales, we have insurance sales, we have mortgage, real estate, mentorship, and coaching. Like, we are the full package, baby. So everything that I write out and I get focused on, we get excited for, because it's involving other people. And so I'm thrilled to be doing another one of those short masterminds, because of the long-term return that I get from teaching them, giving them, offering them, and being engaged with them. I know it because of the proof results of the 500 men that were studied and the millions of people afterwards that are having success through the application of this book. And so the first time that I did this with Paul, the very first, At the very first, they were just words. And I had to push through that limited awareness and thinking, but now, oh, but now I'm like pushing past that limited thinking. Before, it was the limited thinking that would stop me in being able to understand. But now, guys, as I'm getting ready to teach this program, going into this program with the group of people that are registering and signing up, I can barely contain myself. Like if I go in and studying before I go to bed at night, I can't fall asleep. I'm challenged to go to sleep because I get so excited because of what this study does. Think and Grow Rich, consistently devouring the information, applying the principles, applying the information, you get results happening. You get results happening. So we have 4 months, really 3 months left to the end of the year, right? You all know this. We have about 3 months. I say 3 months because for salespeople or pretty much in any industry, December is about parties and networking and holiday festivals. So where are you with your goals? Where are you with your goals right now? Where are you? Are you excited? Are you looking forward to it? Or are you a little bit anxious and panicky? Well, I tell you, one of the ways that I like to set goals is I set tithing goals. I get much more excited about what I can do for other people. And I'll be much more motivated to earn money so that I can make an impact in other people's lives than I will to just earn money. I've always been that. Like money was not like the motivation for me. But if I knew that through my money, I could make a difference in people's lives and give opportunities for my family and to travel and to discover culturally, be involved with people globally, that's what gets me excited, and so we've been blessed to be able to make a difference in that way. This year, however, in addition to that, I made this declaration that I wanted to kick the hell out of mediocrity so that heaven could invade every area of my life. And so, addition to being able to bless other people, I want to really make a radical difference in people's lives. I really want to see people have a change in their life. So my one goal is for everybody who's part of the New Doors mentorship. I want to show them how to sell, thrive, and live their fulfilled life. Not my fulfilled life, but your fulfilled life. And the goal setting process it's a teaching on itself. And I will be doing another purpose, vision, and goals workshop, like you see behind me in my background. I do that in December and January to help salespeople know how to start at setting goals and creating a vision for your life. So that's for another time. And I really love to teach that program. I love to teach and train it to teams and groups. I've had the great privilege of teaching top 1% performing real estate teams, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, it's a lot of fun because I'm working with people who know what it takes to be number one, and they know that it comes from investing in others for their continual growth and mindset. And so when you want to sign up for the mastermind that begins next week, there's going to be a link in the chat that you can click and register, or you can, find my link tree on any of the platforms that you can go ahead and you can register and you can be a part of this process. You can be a part of this changing journey where I'm going to help change something radical within your life. Your life will never be never be the same, as it has been very different for mine as well. This book comes with a promise, actually, And in this book, his promise is that he says there's a secret. He says that there's a secret, and if you find the secret and then you apply the secret to your life, he says that you can have anything that you want. Who wants anything that they want to have? Like, who would love that? Who would love to have anything that they want, right? He says he says that there's something strange about the secret, which is so funny that he says that, but he says there's something strange about the secret. And actually, I've said this to my husband as well. So this is so true that once you discover it and apply it, he says that riches begin to come to you as fast and so furious that you'll wonder where they've been hiding all those lean years. I actually remember the day when I was coming out of the shower, and like that's where I spend, that's where I hear and I get creative. I'm sure many of you do too. But I was just like said, I'm like, Mike, we have never had these things happen at such a rapid pace before ever. Like, do you remember us experiencing at such a pace as what we are now of receiving, of abundance, of outpouring, of opportunities? Like, and he laughs. He's like, never. This is absolutely amazing. You know, I remember what it was like in those lean years. And actually, I had someone say to me just the other day, they said, Grace, I'm tired of the struggle. And, so many are struggling. And so many are worried about about a struggle that's taking place. And many are even worrying about a struggle before it even arrives. Well, I'm telling you, they all need to be here tonight. They all need to be signing up for this session because we're going to deal with this. We're going to deal with these things because I know what it feels like to struggle. I know what it's like to be in this fight, in this war, in this struggle. But I also remember the language that I was using to myself to reinforce the struggle. I do. I remember it. And, in order to get the most of this, let me share with you. Let me share with you if you're going to take notes. And this is a really great time to grab a pen and a paper because I'm going to do a little bit of a teaching right now that you're going to hopefully want to take notes on this. And this is probably the first thing that you're going to want to write down. So get that pen, get that paper, and get ready. There are 6 core keys or knowings in this book of Think and Grow Rich. And some parts of it I've read quite a few times. I've actually memorized pieces of this book because I'm a studier of it. But there are things that if you're going to get the most out of this book, Think and Grow Rich, there's 6 agreements, 6 knowings, 6 things you have to understand. And this is what you have to understand, that they have to be congruent with you. They're going to have to be these 6 things, these 6 knowings. You have to understand that they have to be in agreement. They have to be congruent with you if you're going to be able to apply the principles of the book. And that's where I really struggled because I wasn't congruent. I wasn't in alignment to be able to apply these principles. So let me give you the first one. The first principle is that you have to know, this is going to get juicy, guys. Okay, you ready for this? The first is that you have to know that there's a power, that there is one power and one presence. Now, remembering in this book, when Hill writes the book, and this is decades and decades ago, he refers in the book to this power as an infinite intelligence. He refers this to a universal power. And friends, we are friends. So whoever you want to describe this power as, you do so. Okay. In my study and in my life, I have come to define this one power, this one source to be God, G-O-D, God, the grand overall designer. And again, wherever you're at is the best place to be. And I just welcome you here. Okay. But for me to be able to teach this authentically of who I am and what I'm about, this is how I will deliver it. And you know what? I think there's a lot of programs on human potential, right? A lot of programs on goal setting, a lot, and lots of programs on sales and lots of programs on overcoming your limiting beliefs. I mean, it is everywhere. And I think that, and I know that, if they leave the spiritual component out of it, they're incomplete. It's just an incomplete program. And so I think if you're going to get anything out of this book, Think and Grow Rich, or certainly studying it with me, you have to have a knowing that there is God and that all good things come from that source, and that there is a divine source that we work directly with. We directly work with God. And in fact, the second knowing is that this power, this source, God, he operates from laws. And so now you're going to hear me use things like universal laws, okay? Don't let that trip you up. There are God laws, and his entire universe obeys them. God and his entire universe works for your good. And so there are laws of absolute creation, of creation. And these laws operate with and through all things. And that includes you and me. We operate in this system. And it's the understanding and the application and the living in alignment, living in congruent with these laws. That is the creative process that we need to understand. Hear me out. There is no luck or chance. Let me offer this suggestion to you. The sun rose in the east this morning, right? Where I am, the sun rose in the east this morning here, and it always will, as long as the sun is the lighting the world as we know it. That's a law. And there are 7 laws that govern the way you think, you behave, and you manifest in your life that God creates and has ordained for the creative process to flow with and through you. And this is really exciting when you get to understand this, that there's no luck or chance. There's an actual universal God law of creation, of divinity that you work along with. So the third knowing of Think and Grow Rich is understanding your role. That understanding your role is always to be seeking and finding, seeking an ever greater awareness of your oneness with God, or your oneness with his power. That, in other words, this power is not separate from you. When you get to understand this, your life will change. It's not separate from you, and that our role in the creative process is to be seeking your awareness and oneness with God, so that you can operate, so that we can operate more effectively within his laws of creation. And the next, number 4, is that there is a truth. There is a truth within you, within me, that is greater than the facts of your conditions and circumstances. So wherever you're at right now, whatever your conditions and your circumstances, there is a truth within you that is greater than the facts of your conditions and circumstances. And I don't know what you're facing right now. I don't know what you're facing. For those of you that are on the call, or you're going to be watching the replay of this call, I don't know. I know when I first started to study the book, I couldn't see this. I couldn't see this knowing. I mean, I'm a person of faith and I have faith and prayer, but there was this separation. There was this separation of me striving to get to, that I needed to do more, that I needed to be more, that I needed to work more, that I needed in order to have more, or to arrive at what I, believed was right for my life. That's where I worked from. I couldn't see it. I couldn't see this knowing. I couldn't even accept it. I accepted that there was a greater truth. I accepted there was a greater truth within me. But I couldn't get it separated from, I couldn't align it with the facts and conditions. I just had more of a view of the facts and conditions. I was living from facts and conditions. Because I made these choices, this was happening. Because this happened, this is why I'm here. That's where I was living from, conditions and circumstances. And I was stuck in the physical reality of my world. And I'm going to tell you what, it's not good. It's really not. It's a life of struggle. And yet, if you're going to get the most out of this book, and if you're going to get the most out of studying this book with me, there's a part of your thinking that must that that must be open to this idea of the truth that's in you. That the truth that's in you is greater than the facts and the circumstances. Can you come into agreement with that? And the fifth is that the facts can't overpower you. Boom. The facts, your circumstances cannot overpower you. In addition to operating by laws, this source, this power that I call God, has also declared promises for your life. And one of those is for you to have dominion over all things. See, in the current facts of your life, the only fact about that is that facts change. Do you believe that? Do you know that? The facts can change, right? Facts change. And there are declared promises, and there's people who will claim to know what those promises are, but they won't redeem those promises. They won't redeem those promises in their life. They won't fulfill them. They won't fulfill them. And if you're going to be a part of this study, that is absolutely what we're going to call upon. Not only the lawful understanding of God and how God created this process of creation, but also the promises that go with it. Isn't this good? Coming into agreement of promises for your life, the completion of the process of creation. And the sixth is knowing that we're not to be concerned about getting even. Hear me out. You're going to be hearing me out a lot through the next 5 weeks when you sign up to be in this mentorship. You're not to be concerned about getting even, trying to make things fair, or trying to make things right with other people or in this world. That's not your role. This is the power of trust that we place in the divine source. And when we place our trust, we cannot concern ourselves with trying to get even or to try to make things fair. When we can step out of that role of judgment and trust God to do that, it fortifies our oneness with God. It deepens our trust and our understanding and our relationship with God. And it's through this and through these awarenesses that I teach the book of Think and Grow Rich and in this study. Yeah, it was this book. It was this book that caused me to go deeper and deeper into the field of accumulated knowledge in the topic of human potential and the creative process. So when we study this book, we're really not just studying Napoleon Hill. I think it's very natural that we seek wisdom, how we can transform our lives. That is really very natural. How we create transformation in our lives. It's natural. But it's not normal. No, sadly for today, for most people, normal is sitting on their backhands in front of a TV or with a computer, watching the best of the worst, or, purposely accessing the web, hoping to find something that can entertain the mind for under 17 seconds, scrolling TikTok, Instagram, no judgment, but that is our normal, right? Well, I love spending time with people who are willing to take a challenge, to break free from what's considered normal. Transformation, when we think about it, requires that we think differently. And in Think and Grow Rich and in the study, the focus is on transformation thinking. There was a man, his name was Paul, the Apostle Paul, and he said, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing it." What does that mean? By testing, you may discern what the will of God is, what is good, and what is acceptable, and what's perfect. So, can you do yourself a favor? Can you say with me, I'm willing to test things? Go ahead. Go ahead and say it. I'm willing to test things. And let's just take it a next step further. Absolutely, I'm willing to test them. Come on. Absolutely. I'm willing to put myself in an experiment. You know, when we look at what Paul said, what does it really mean? See your world, the life you've created, and see, has it been formed by a pattern of your thinking? And the renewing of our mind occurs through the creative process of establishing a new pattern of thinking that's not of this world. That is to say, is not of your current conditions and circumstances that you're living in. So it's not of your current knowing. It's not of your beliefs of what your experiences are. Your answers to the questions of how do I go from here to there will never be found in your conditions and circumstances as they are now, wherever you are, right? No matter how great or how great and wonderful, successful you are, that we continue to renew our mind. We continue to believe for more. The answer to how do I go from here to there is not part of your current knowing. You've never done it before, so how would you know? It's not part of your current belief right now. If you haven't believed for it, then how can how do you know what to believe for? Most people don't know how to create this renewal, and when they're being taught how to do it, they don't trust themselves in the process because they don't believe that they're worthy to have more. And that was really my issue of feeling worthy. Or when I would hear people talking about how much more successful, or their eyes would be on the more success, I can immediately go into the place of comparing myself with others. And when I heard somebody talking about how great this person was, and how great that person was, that I'd be like, see, I got so far to go. How can I compare myself with that person? And I'm sure that's, similar for yourself. They fear letting go of familiar patterns. And, me wanting to change my belief and believe that I was worthy and be able to believe that I was capable of changing, I also had a fear of letting go of old familiar patterns, something that was familiar to me, what I knew, what I was raised in. I had a hard time of letting it go. And when it was time for me to let go of something I really believed to be true in my life, in a favor of consideration of a new possibility, I was scared about it. Again, I was worried about what people would see, feel, say, do, reject, whatever, goes through your mind, right? These things that keep you in a place that you don't want to be. These things that keep you held back from doing, being, and having the more in your life. But you'll keep to them because they're familiar and they're safe. These patterns that don't create things in our lives, you're creating regardless, but you're creating things possibly that you don't even want. And I understand, friends, it's challenging to let go of what's familiar. And so most people hold on to them rather than entering into an experiment. And as Paul said, testing. We want to go into this experiment, a new way and a new pattern of thinking for a renewed mind, for renewal, for a transformed life. The victory of that, of establishing this new pattern, is not the achievement of some goal on the physical dimension of lives. The real achievement comes in what Paul says at the end of the statement. He says, we learn, lean in just a little bit on this one. He says that we learn to discern what is the will of God in our lives and what is our highest good that's acceptable and perfect. See, the win is not in getting something. The win is the wisdom to know God's voice in our life above all other voices. It's to learn how to co-create with God according to his laws, to create new patterns of thought from higher levels of awareness that allows us to manifest our highest good for the rest of our lives. This is not an arrival point and that's it. This is the rest of your lives. This is about a journey. This allows us to live a life that we've been designed, that we have designed, rather than to live a life by default. Isn't that powerful? You know, so many of us believe that we have to live our life and we play our life based upon the cards that we're dealt. Has it ever occurred to you? Has it ever occurred to you that you could actually take those cards? You could take those cards, pretend I have cards in my hand. Has it ever occurred to you that you can take these cards that were dealt and throw them back into the table? Just throw them. I just pretend like you have some cards in your hand, and I want you to just throw them into the middle of the table and demand a new hand from life. Go ahead. I demand a new hand. Let's go. Let's go. And this is exactly what's happening when you challenge your beliefs, you challenge your thinking. See, this type of transformation requires thinking. Okay? It's going to require you to think. And this thinking is aligned and congruent with the life you want to create. And this thinking and this congruency, it's in harmony with God's purpose for your life. And the starting point is this. Our thinking must be congruent with the mental model of perfection that we're claiming we want to create. So when we threw in our cards in the middle of the table, now I ask you, what is it that you want? What is it that you want to create? And I can't tell you how many times I coach a lot of people. Mentored a lot of people over the years. And even for myself, I know it's true. The number of times where people would tell me one thing, or I've said one thing, and they've wished for one thing, yet they behaved in a completely different way. In other words, our thinking, our behavior, our habits, or our beliefs must be congruent. Not just with the patterns of our lives as they are now. Not as the patterns they are now. That's not it. Our thinking must be congruent with the pattern of the emerging future we desire to give birth to. What's ahead of us? That's what it needs to come in agreement with. And to create this new pattern of what it is that you really, truly desire to have. And I think there's 4 requirements, okay? There's 4 requirements in doing this. This is a big teaching, but I want you to get excited. I want you to be anticipating on thinking of your future. I want you to get excited about you having a role to play, you having an opportunity to have, be, and do more in your life of what's intended for you to do, be, and have. I want you to be inspired and get this, that you're taking part in it, that all things are possible. It requires you to come from an abundant and prosperity consciousness. It requires you to have a prosperity and abundant mindset. And now, even at my place of frustration, when I was struggling in my belief and my ability to be, do, and have more, I understood that I had to have an abundant mindset. Okay. I understood that. I mean, I understood that there was abundance of other resources. You can see it everywhere. You can see other people, that there's an abundance of resources because I saw other people have an abundance. So there's an awareness that it was available. So I certainly knew that there was an abundance, and you certainly know that there is an abundance. But where I was lacking, and this is the second half of that, which is prosperity consciousness. And you see that the difference is an abundance I can see for opportunities for other people, but prosperity consciousness says for me too. Prosperity consciousness says for me too. So you can see an abundance all around you for other people. You can see the opportunities everywhere, can't you? Yes, you can. But the prosperity consciousness says, for me too. It's an internal impersonalization of an awareness that says, I'm not separate from this abundance. I am not separate, that it's not just outside of me, that it's in me. Because we understand that this source, this God source that I'm talking about, everybody, this very first kind of portion in this book is acknowledging that there's a divine perfect source. And this source is the one that creates. This source creates only two ways, perfectly and abundantly. I want you to say this. This source creates only two ways. God, your source, creates two ways, perfectly and abundantly. And it's for me too. It's for me too. It's for you. And I think if we're going to have this renewal, if we're going to come from this congruent place, if we're going to start at this departure point of our life of where we are and where it is that we're wanting to have, be, and do in our life, this place we are now in our way to where it is that we want to be, we have to believe that this part of us, that we're in harmony with the good that we're seeking. You're seeking with good intention. You're seeking with life. You're seeking with purpose. You're seeking with reason. That it's in harmony with all of that. God is abundant, and so is his resources. The second requirement is that we expand our awareness of what's possible. We got to expand our awareness of what's possible, okay? And how do we do this? We've talked about it already, is that we're challenging the agreements we have made. We have to challenge the agreements we have with what we claim is impossible. What are you thinking is impossible right now? Don't put attention. Don't say it. Don't say it. But we do. We come into agreement of what is impossible. So we have to expand our awareness and understanding of what's possible. And then also challenge any agreement we have with what we think is impossible. And you do it. I probably did it today, right? Thinking that's impossible. How will that ever happen? Let me give you an example for today, okay? Because I'm sure it happened. For those of you that are listening, and I'm sorry I just use this because this is just what's all around us and it's an easy go-to. So for those of you that are listening to the news, your neighbors across the street, your family members, your friends, whoever you're spending time with listening, okay? And you're talking about the current facts. The markets are slowing down. People are finding it hard. It's going to get really rough. You know what happens, right? You get in the middle of this conversation and you start nodding your head, getting into these conversations across the street, innocent across the street to your neighbor, your friends on the phone, and they've just listened to some article or some news or read some headline or whatever, and they start talking about how horrible things are and what's going to happen. And you start nodding your head. You start, yeah, you're right. Oh, And without you even thinking about it, instantly you've made an agreement with their beliefs. You've made an agreement with what's going on. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not good. You know, I remember the crisis of 2008. Oh, no, this is going to be rough. And then you start getting anxious and you worry about how rough, how horrible it's going to get for you and your business. And we so quickly, right? So quickly make an agreement with what would be impossible so quickly. We distance ourselves with what's possible because we start limiting our belief with what's familiar. We automatically make agreement with the negative. How is it possible to prosper in a time of drought? How is it? When the circumstances look bad, when there's been no rain for years and years and years, how is it even possible for a time of drought? Well, let me tell you, when I got my license in 2006, we were apparently in a down market, and I had no idea. I had no idea because I wasn't listening. I don't operate like that. And so I know when I have made it into, it doesn't mean that I haven't made agreement, with the wrong things, because I certainly have. But in that time when there's a down market, I didn't know. And I just sold. I just went out there and did business because I was not focused with how hard things were, how challenging things were. We have to become aware with those negative ideas, the negative stuff that doesn't serve your belief of possibilities. And for half my career, I lived from what was familiar. What was familiar to me was transaction to transaction. I had a woman in my office where I started, and I really looked up to her because she was very successful, had a team and everything. And she said this. She says, "I never know what my business is going to be from year to year. Every year I start from zero." And I came into an agreement with that. I came into agreement, and I even said it over and over again. And what happened? I lived from transaction to transaction, knowing that I would have to start from zero the next year. Instead of having a bigger belief and an understanding of creating that it doesn't stop in a 12-month period, but it continues to grow as you grow business, that there's an expansion that takes place and growth, I was living from transaction to transaction. And then every year being so surprised what I did in sales. And it was like an emotional torture. It was like emotional torture because I lived from this place of transaction to transaction thinking, limited mindset. Why? And then I was like, why am I doing this? What have I come into an agreement that I'm living like this? And then I went back to that conversation with that successful woman of saying, I live, transaction to transaction. It starts from zero every single year. I came into agreement of a belief that I shouldn't have. And I have to ask, whose source do I really truly live from? I totally act like I live from my only source of me because it's so limited. The source being me is very limited, but God's source is unlimited. And he says that I'm to receive and live abundantly. So instead of transaction, hoping I got to make what I desired to make, I lived in knowing that I was making what it was that I desired to make. And it came in many different forms. It came at different times through different opportunities, like it had always done before. But my mindset had changed. I didn't care at what time and what month and what season it was coming from. I just knew that it was. I knew what I was creating. I knew what I was doing, and I knew what I was going for. And that way it freed me. It freed me because I was in congruent agreement with what I wanted. And I allowed it to be possible in my awareness long enough for it to be my truth. And then I just continued to push my borders because I learned how to live from that place. So here's the third requirement It requires we not only kind of have an image of what it is that we want. I'm teaching this all the time of what it is that you want, creating this image of what it is they want. It requires that you develop the image in yourself, not being on the outside circumstance, but within yourself. You develop the image and you develop yourself. And many, you may or may not be familiar with the stick person. It's something else that I teach about your conscious and your subconscious belief and manifesting things into the physical world. And it's about, learning that we think in pictures. Think of your home, think of your car, and think of where you work. When I say that, you don't see CAR, or you don't see HOME, right? Or W, or, you get it, right? You actually see a picture. We think in pictures. But having the picture in and of itself is a worthless exercise if we don't develop it, if we don't develop ourselves. And the way to do that is by doing what we're all doing right now, right where we intentionally place ourselves in an environment conducive to our growth. We expose ourselves to new ideas that challenge our old patterns of thought. And we do so in a supportive community of like-minded people. So instead of crossing the street or calling somebody first thing in the morning that is going to bring you down or set the wrong intention or thoughts in your head, you choose to engage in an environment, in a group community that's going to change you, challenge you for more. So this is what I mean. When I say, that I made 50,000 a year, or I made 50,000 a month, or 50,000 in a week, or maybe even 50,000 in a day. Or how about 50,000 an hour? There's some of you, when I said 50,000 a month, your mind closed. And then there's others who thought, okay, maybe I could do that a month. Maybe. Oh man, that used to challenge me a lot. It really, really did. Now I want to be challenged there. So what if you made the 50,000 a week? Is your mind closed? Okay, so what about if you made 50,000 in a day? Or in an hour? You're going to say, I can't do that. How am I going to do that in an hour? You're crazy. Whatever. What if? For many of you on this line are going to be listening to the recording, when I talk about the possibility of your earning and what you're able to do, what things are possible, you close your mind off. Well, this is not make-believe. I'm not leading you astray. But rather than close your mind, rather than me closing my mind, I keep it open so that possibility thinking is there and available. And so we have to challenge those old patterns of thought. And it's one of those things you can't do it yourself. You got to do it with people, with others. You can't do it alone. You really think you're going to challenge yourself alone to make 50,000 a month or 50,000 a week or 50,000 a day or 50,000 an hour? It's not going to happen. You got to do it with others. So here's the fourth requirement, and it requires that you recognize that your life is happening through you and not to you. When I heard that, I didn't really understand it. It kind of made me uncomfortable. So let me just put a bit of content underneath it to help you along with that. You are a creative being. You were made in the image of the Creator. You were made in the image of God. All you and I, all of you and myself, we were made in His image. So all we do is create. We are creative. And we receive creative ideas that we can broadcast, that we can put out there in like a great energy, great vibration of our thought and being, of creating, of what it is. And we feed that, we fester it, we cause it to get bigger and bigger within ourselves. That creative process begins to happen. And as spiritual beings, all you and I do is that we look to seek for fuller expression and fuller expansion, because that's what God is about. God is for fuller expression, right? Fuller expansion through your life. So we want to continue to grow from making 90,000 GCI to over 500,000, over 1 million, 2 million, whatever that might be, but to not put any brakes. So if I just made that, then I would be satisfied. If I made this, that would be okay. Well, why put brakes on them? Let's just engage in ourselves of possibility thinking. I want to be, do, and have more than what I thought possible. I want you to be willing to open yourself into the state of awareness of being a live person. Come alive to possibility thinking, that all things are possible. We're not some like weird voodoo thing, right? This is just you opening up your mind to possibilities. Listen, okay, let's bring this right down. If you're a singer, you're going to want to sing louder. You want to develop your vocal cords so you can live out a fuller career of singing, right? So you're going to learn ways to expand your lungs, right? To use your vocal cords in a greater way. If you're a jumper, you're going to want to learn how to jump higher, right? You're going to push those limits of jumping higher. If you're a runner, you're going to want to run faster and further. That's the spiritual essence of who you are. Call it competitive, call it, charging forward, call it whatever you want, but this is a creativeness. How do I go faster? How do I go higher? How do I go further? So this is your possibility thinking of your wealth. Why does your wealth, your finances, your living and fulfillment any different than a runner that wants to run faster? How is it? Life doesn't happen to us. Life happens through us. So this is not a new age mumbo jumbo talking. Most people approach Think and Grow Rich and never get rich because of two reasons. First, they're approaching it from a mind over matter perspective. And that's nonsense. That's what I can't stand. Just fake it till you make it. No. They are missing the principles of this. So if you're willing to engage in the principles and understand and come alongside, I will show you how this happens. People try to make it happen. When reality, that if you learn the process of creation and operate from a model of mind into matter, how you grow into this person, how you develop, the difference is significant. And so we're gonna take time to do that. I'm excited. Next 5 weeks are gonna be absolutely phenomenal. And I want to invite you to come alongside with us. Again, for those of you that want to sign up tonight, and for those that already have, I'm going to send you the hard copy line for line study guide for you to participate in this for the rest of your life, not just the 5 weeks, for the rest of your life, and become a studier of this and watch your life be renewed and transformed. It's really exciting. And there's a link in the chat that you can register. Go ahead and register, or in any of my platforms, you can go to my link tree, link on to the link for the 5-week mastermind course. And along with the calls, we're going to do calls once a week starting September 5th at 7:30 once a week. We're going to have a teaching, but it's going to be a closed group. Unlike this free forum that we are tonight, it's going to be a closed group. We're going to be able to, you're going to have a lesson, but then we're going to have Q&A where we're going to sharpen each other. We're going to engage in conversation, and it's going to be really powerful. So it's going to be a real mastermind. You get the downloadable line for line. If you don't purchase get the book by registering right away. And you'll also get an opportunity. I'm going to throw in some extra bonuses for some meditation teachings that I have for you that you'll get. and also some one-on-ones that you'll have opportunities to as well, to have me as your coach on one-on-one throughout the 5-week period. So all of this is for $199 for 5 weeks of group coaching, teaching, one-on-one, and the extra bonuses that I'm going to throw in to help get you to where you need to be over the next 3 months to make your goals, to live a life of abundance and purpose and flow. And so I hope that I will see you there September 5th in the private Mastermind Think and Grow Rich group. And let's go through this journey together. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. It's a real honor to be able to share this with all of you and for you to give up your time. I know that you're busy and there's so many other things that you can be doing. So I really appreciate you taking the time to hear me out on this and to participate. So have a good night. God bless you and be well.